Hey, good morning, friends. Today is Friday, January the 17th, 2025, and the time now is 7:42 a.m. So, friends, I want to talk briefly about the situation in the Middle East. I want to talk briefly about the fact that just in recent times, we had a ceasefire deal in Gaza, and people in Gaza and throughout the Middle East and around the world had been celebrating. There are videos throughout the medias around the world of people in Gaza and around the world celebrating the ceasefire in Gaza. Also, I want to talk briefly about a recent video which I watched, a video of the scholar Jeffrey Sachs basically talking about the situation in the Middle East, and he referred to the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as a deep dark son of a bitch. And Donald Trump actually retweeted or reposted the video, and it is at a point where people in the United States, scholars and those who are commentators and observers of international relations, they have been declaring that because of this video, it forced Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government to sign the ceasefire deal, which I do to an extent refuse to believe that. Now, my friends, you are watching the playlist series, The Trends and Headlines in Geopolitics, and this, my friends, is episode 28. Once again, friends, you are watching the playlist series, The Trends and Headlines in Geopolitics, and this is episode 28. Now, my friends, as I said a couple of seconds ago, recently, about a few days ago, Donald Trump retweeted or reposted a very short video or a segment of an interview that the historian and scholar and economist Jeffrey Sachs was engaged in, okay, in an interview. And in the interview, Jeffrey Sachs referred, as I said earlier, to the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as a deep, dark son of a bitch. And he also declared that Israel's ability and willingness, or Benjamin Netanyahu's willingness and ability to carry out their actions in Gaza or in the Middle East, is a result of the unconditional support that they receive from the United States government and prominent members of American political and economic and financial class. In that video, Mr. Sachs cursed several times, and he is very serious about his opposition to what is happening in the Middle East and to the unconditional support that Israel continues to get from the United States and from the West, the conceptual West in general. And Mr. Sachs, or Professor Sachs, or Jeffrey Sachs, he is known, or he is one of the few hardcore critics of Israel's action in the Middle East and around the world, and also of Israel's influence on the United States domestic and international politics. In this case, we can say domestic and international policy. And Mr. Sachs seemed to be saying that to a greater extent, Israel is actually in control of the United States rather than the United States in control of Israel. Now, when Donald Trump reposted or retweeted the video, there was a change. And in fact, it is said that Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, was supposed to be attending Donald Trump's inauguration, which is this Tuesday. Now, however, it is said that to a greater extent, Benjamin Netanyahu was offended, or the Israeli government was offended as a result of Donald Trump posting the video. And that basically prompting Netanyahu to pull out, to refuse to attend the inauguration of Donald Trump, which I do not think that is the case. I think what is happening here is nothing but propaganda, it's politics. Now, for Donald Trump, we have undermined Donald Trump significantly to the point where things are backfiring and Donald Trump is getting away with a lot of things. The fact that Donald Trump reposted a video of Mr. Jeffrey Sachs referring to Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, as a deep, dark son of a bitch doesn't necessarily mean that Donald Trump believes it or that Donald Trump is supporter of the Palestinian or that Donald Trump is going to end the situation in Palestine for the Palestinian cause. It is politics, because let's not forget, it was the same Donald Trump who basically removed the embassy of the United States from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, a move that many in the international community and even in the UN has condemned. And that is going to have a far-reaching consequence. So what is happening is a game that those who are blind may not see, and Trump is going to get away with it. But also, Donald Trump's administration that is coming in is full of lots of hardcore Zionists. Whether we are talking about Marco Rubio, whether we are talking about even Vivek Ramaswamy, who had made statement recently that Israel should do whatever. And even Marco Rubio had stated the same, the obvious. And a lot of these guys recently, they are unapologetic about their belief and their support for Israel. So the fact that Donald Trump is going to go against Israel and Netanyahu, I think it's a wishful thinking. I think Donald Trump is going to support Israel all the way, while at the same time, he is going to make himself appear as the peacemaker. And one of the things that is going to be interesting in the new Donald Trump administration, the upcoming administration, is that Donald Trump and his government will basically portray or project themselves as peacemaker or peacemakers, while at the same time making destruction around the world, whether we are talking about causing chaos in the United States, engaging in more wars, destabilizing the Middle East and elsewhere. This is also one of the reasons or the result of the situation that is unfolding between BRICS and the United States, which Donald Trump had recently threatened any country that decide to opt out of the United States financial hegemon. So basically, pull away from the petrodollar, pull away from the dollar. Donald Trump had made threat to go after any government or country that decide to do so, which in this case means that Donald Trump is not going to be the peace president as he had portrayed or projected himself to be during the election campaign. But once again, I do believe it is going to be interesting that Donald Trump, as much as he is going to be carrying out a whole lot of destruction around the world, he and his government will at the same time portray or project themselves as peacemakers. Now, my friends, the situation in the Middle East regarding the ceasefire. It is very interesting because there are people around the world and prominent observers of international relations who are scratching their heads about whether the peace deal is indeed a true peace deal with the right, truthful intention. Now, for the people of Palestine, Gaza, there were videos, and there are videos all over the internet of people, children, adults, men, women, old, young, celebrating. Okay, cars are honking because of the ceasefire. Whether they are right, the Palestinian, whether their cause is right or wrong, whether the Israeli cause is right or wrong, the fact that with all the destruction in Gaza, the people are celebrating for ceasefire, it's remarkable, but again, it is human tendency. It is not strange. But for the people of Palestine or Gaza, I do feel that the international community must be happy for them, should be happy and to celebrate for them and with them. Because it is said by now it is approaching 50,000 people that have died in Gaza. The last time I checked, it was over 40-something thousand. And then you have the December break. Now, between that time, before the break in December, the Christmas or New Year break, to now, who knows how many more thousands had been killed. So perhaps by now, as of now, it is possible that 50,000 to 60,000 people have died in Gaza, okay, as a result. So when the people are celebrating in Gaza, I do believe that the rest of the world, the rest of humanity should be happy for them and should celebrate for them and with them. But also, my friends, I stated earlier, a couple of seconds ago, that their celebration is not strange. It is human tendency, because I remember in the Liberian crisis, during the Liberian civil wars, when Liberian people, my people, will go on the street and basically celebrate, okay, peace. And my friends, the phrase or lines that were often chanted during the Liberian Civil War is, "We want peace. We want peace. We want peace. We want peace. We want peace." In fact, many people in Liberia voted for Charles Taylor in the 97 election with the chant or the song, "He killed my mom, he killed my pa, I will vote for him." This basically telling you the people don't care. They just need peace as of that time. They want to rest. And it is what the people of Gaza or Palestine had been showing as news came out of the ceasefire deal. No matter what, the people just want peace as of now. They want to stop dying. They want their children who are being born as the bombing continue to have at least to rest, to have sleeping days, okay, days during which they are sleeping without hearing any bomb going off. Women want to live without being scared, and men want to go out about their business and not having their women and children seeing them as frightened because of the bomb that are going off. It is the thing that is truthful, okay, to human nature. We want to look strong and tough in the eyes of our wives, our women, our family member. When we are the leader or leaders of our family and scary things are happening, yes, we may be scared, afraid, but the fearful thing is demonstrating fear for our little ones and women and mothers and fathers and sisters and so on to see. But once again, I do welcome the ceasefire and the peace deal as much and as long as the Palestinian people are happy about it and they're celebrating. I do feel that the rest of the world, the rest of humanity should celebrate with them. But once again, it is being said by many Trumpers that the ceasefire deal is a result of the pressure that Donald Trump had been putting on Benjamin Netanyahu, which I think is not the case. I think it is all politics, because it is also being stressed that this peace deal was the same peace deal that Joe Biden had been pushing. The fact that Benjamin Netanyahu did not accept the peace deal and is not accepting it doesn't necessarily mean that Trump was forcing him and that Benjamin Netanyahu capitulate because of pressure from Donald Trump. Because the truth here is, I do think Donald Trump is a hardcore Zionist, is a hardcore supporter of Israel. And I do not mean it in a disrespectful way. While at the same time, Donald Trump is supported and he is surrounded by a cabinet full of hardcore Zionists. Donald Trump does have the Senate and the House. Republicans who they've been blasting at Joe Biden for Joe Biden's unconditional support of Ukraine, giving money to Ukraine. But these same people have not been saying anything about the assistance that Joe Biden's administration has been giving Israel to carry out its activities in the Middle East, in Gaza, against the Palestinians, against Lebanon, Syria, or whomever Israel chooses. So it is remarkable. Now, the situation going on around the world in the greater scheme of things, in terms of Ukraine, perhaps they may end the situation, the war in Ukraine, and Vladimir Putin and Russia are going to come out of this war victorious militarily, and they are going to end up with lots of territories. In terms of the information warfare, in the West, the Russians have lost. In the international relation, in the global community, Russia is not losing, because many are looking at Russia as the victim, as the country that is standing up to the West. But for the United States, if they end the war in Ukraine with Russian victory, it is going to be a reputational blow for Donald Trump in the long run. They may end the war because the situation in Ukraine, what is happening, is a shame for the West. Yes, we have been seeing for the past 3 years that white people with blonde hair and blue eyes have been killed consistently in Ukraine. and the white West, led by the United States and the Anglo-Saxons, the Anglospheres of whiteness, despite all they've been doing, they've been incapable of defeating the Russians, at least militarily and economically. Now, in terms of information warfare, misinformation, the West has won against Russia. So in this case, Donald Trump may end the war because he cannot defeat Vladimir Putin, Russia. And it is being said that Putin, Russia, does have influence over Trump. But as much as the war in Ukraine could end, the war in Gaza, in the Middle East, the war against people of color, the war against the blacks, the Arabs, the Haitians, the South and Central Americans, the Caribbeans, the global South is going to continue. Now, in Africa, we've been seeing many countries rising up. People are rising up against Western supported leaders who've basically carried out the Western world's bids while their people suffer. And we saw that significantly in the Sahel region, where many countries and people have risen against their government. And we have a Sahel situation going on against colonialism. That I do believe Donald Trump is going to try to stomp on that. In South Africa, I believe Donald Trump is going to try to stomp the ANC. South African government took Israel to court. Donald Trump had even made criticism of South Africa recently. You have the whites in South Africa, in Western Cape, that want to split from South Africa. You have Donald Trump, even when he was in office, his first term, he was anti-South African. He was pushing the lies of white South African farmers' genocide. You got Elon Musk, what he's been doing, even saying around the world, and a whole lot of things that many Trumpers have been saying. And I'm talking about prominent Trumpers with money. It is very interesting. We are seeing the rise and the collaboration of the white West, okay? The far right movement in the West coming together. I think the rest of humanity, the global South, must be very careful and must take notice. Now, my friends, I am going to end here. Please tell me what you think, and honestly, I want to hear what you think. But I want to thank you, my friends, for being a member of the Echoing Voice community, and most especially, most importantly, friends, I want to thank you a lot for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace.